Hi, hello everybody. I didn't see you guys there. Klaire Fluffle here, and this feels really bad. Like really bad. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Picture of Kazuya Mishima from Tekken. We've got Kirby's Return to Dreamland to cover today. To the untrained pup, this might not seem like a big deal, but Return to Dreamland for the Wii, we turn to the Wii Land, as I have called it in the past, because I am so charming, charismatic, and unfunny, is my second favorite game in the series. I love it to itty-bitty pieces, and having to rank it this low does not make me a happy pup. But I want to be an honest pup, so I don't have a choice. Let's talk about it. If you're lost or don't know what it is that I'm ranking, hi. For the month of August, I'll be uploading every day of the month, ranking every single any percent Kirby speedrun from least favorite to favorite. It's quite an adventure Wii, if you will. And you can check out the playlist if you want to see more. Speaking of seeing more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel to ensure that Deputy Pup can't get me in trouble because of her love for the nothing burgers of the world. Consider becoming a pup train on Patreon or a mempup on YouTube as well for nifty perks, including 2-day early access to all the videos for these speedrun rankings. Special thanks to my head-patting Fluffle fan puptrins and mempups, Freakish Uproar, Lydia Scribe, and Vilafar. I love you all. Return to Dreamland. A game I've defended, even liking it more than the remake, is this low on the rankings. It's a particular bummer considering that in my other two ranking series, the one where I ranked the games overall and the other their soundtracks, it placed second on both. And now it's, I don't know, what is this, like, I think 21st? It's a sad day for Return to Dreamland fans. F in the chat for your condolences. Or your Weedolences? Yeah, okay, I don't really know what I was going for with that one, but let's finally talk Kirby! So how does the any percent of Return to Dreamland speedrun work? The game has a lot in common with Triple Deluxe, which we talked about a couple days ago. Is it a matter of using fire a lot like in that game? Well, no, because fire isn't the best ability in this one. You would think that, similar to Triple Deluxe, you'd find places to use it, but not really. You can grab it in the second room to save like a tiny bit of time, but shortly after the Ultra Sword appears, you see these 3 Sir Kibble lined up. While some specific details vary from game to game, for the most part, if you inhale 2 enemies that can give you an ability, you'll get Mix, which shuffles every single ability in a roulette wheel. Really quickly, you can press a button to stop the wheel early or let it rock and get whatever ability it gives you at the end. The starting point depends on what enemies you inhale, but since this allows you to get any ability at basically any point in the game, it's invaluable for speedruns. Problem number 1 with Return to Dreamland any percent, mixing. We didn't talk about this with Triple Deluxe because, frankly, mixing doesn't exist in that category right now, but even if it did, mixing in that game would be fine. Here, okay, I talk about return mixing in other videos and how much I can't stand it in this game specifically, but assuming this is your first pup rodeo, or something less southern sounding so I don't accidentally invite Deputy Pup again, let me explain. I guess the Return devs knew this because mixing in this game is the absolute worst. First off, you need to inhale 3 enemies to get a mix instead of 2. Wonderful. Second, the starting point of the roulette wheel is completely random, regardless of which enemies you inhale. Very annoying, but with enough trial and error, practice, you can spot a certain order of abilities and get the ability of choice that you need. Oh, but wait, there's another thing. The order of abilities is also random every time you mix. If you're like top 10 runners in the world, you can use the home menu button, the Wii remote, to help you spot and time your ability of choice, but for everyone else, including this pup right here, you're mashing the home button and hoping you can find the ability you need. And what ability is that? But it's largely the only ability that you use for the entire game. If you know about speedrunning, it shouldn't surprise you that generally sticking to one ability is pretty optimal, but no other Kirby game is this centralized over one ability. Well, I guess the remake, but Puppy's trying to make a point here, be quiet. Wing could have all of the coolest tech in the world, and as I said earlier, it kinda does, but being stuck with it for the whole game leaves the speedrun feeling a bit repetitive. I take repetitive over what Hypernova did to Triple Deluxe, but I take what the rest of what Triple Deluxe did over this. That probably sounds more confusing on paper than it actually is, but basically, grrr, Hypernova bad, that makes me one angry puppy. Longtime Fluffle fans may be thinking about rubber bands right now, wondering why I haven't mentioned anything about multiplayer. Yes, up to 4 people can grab a Wii Remote and play Kirby together at the same time. So much fun! Well, that was the intent, but as it turns out, when you're going for 100%, this silly mechanic winds up breaking the game like you wouldn't believe. To be perfectly honest here, it's awesome! And that's problem number 3 with any percent return. Multiplayer winds up doing very little. Some strats exist, like using Mennonite before you get to Wing, or skipping some mini-bosses in 90 Noon 5. They're certainly there if you want to look for them, but they're far and few between, not to mention they don't fix any of the other problems that any percent has. If anything, they introduce their own issues, since you need to lug around multiple Wii remotes, remember which one is which, how to do player 1 stuff, have proper hand-eye coordination, all super weird, annoying, hard, that jazz. I just want to go zooming, and I'm feeling bad about myself. So a lot of the things surrounding the speedrun I don't like, but what about the actual run itself? How is Kirby's Return to Dreamland, and is it worth speedrunning at all? You may be expecting this to be a lead-in to me saying something like, problem number 4 will shock you, but despite all of the problems here, this is still Return to Dreamland at the end of the day. This is an absolute joyride of an experience, start to finish, and unlike future games, this one was absolutely made to be similar to older games in the series, which are far easier and more accessible to speedrun. If anything, the true beauty of the older games, or really older games in general, really opens up when speedrunning enters the fray. You look at a game like Mario 64, which you're not looking at because I have a busy month and I can't be bothered to record footage. Return to Dreamland really modernized that superstar style of gameplay with the fresh approach to adventures, level, and world structure. I won't say quite how great those games are to speedrun, but obviously they rank higher than this one, so at the very least, I'm a fan of what they did. And this game combining the approach of those two together is a wonder to blast through. Especially with an ability as flexible as Wing, these levels ask you to move in a lot of different ways. Maneuver through enemies and bosses with Wing's small but absurd moveset. And while, sure, it's simple, if it's taking from Superstar and Adventure, this has gotta be a comfortable 30 to 50 minute speedrun that you can experience and replay any time, because problem number 4, with any percent return, why does this take over an hour and a half? The other games that are modeled after Return to Dreamland are of a similar length, but they have far more variety, both in mechanics and ability variety. Again, I took 90 minutes of the same thing over Hypernova, but I would never dare say that about the Robobot armor or Star Allies' ability variety. KSA doesn't even have a lot, but it has more than one that all have next to nothing in common. You compare that to Wing with guest cameos from Fire and Ninja, I guess. Maybe Cutter too. And the pieces start to fall into place. Oh, and yeah, I couldn't find a place to fit this in the video otherwise, but problem number 5 with any percent return, the extra mode run stinks. It's the same thing with harder bosses and less health, and all that rocks for a casual playthrough, it's not so good for a speedrun. Weak ability variety with multiplayer strats that are cool, but too uncommon to largely matter. The worst method of getting that ability in the series, all for a run that takes way longer than it feels like it probably should. These issues come together to make this a run that, personally, is hard for me to recommend. Heck, the remake actually makes things worse in these regards, but we'll talk about that another day. For now, some of you may be asking, how is this not a nothing burger speedrun, if not, like, a straight up bad run? And the answer is pretty simple, not to mention I've already said it. Ha! Take that, nerds! Return to Dreamland is just a really, 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 really fun game. Are you just using wing? Yeah, but you're zooming through some of the most fun and speedrun-friendly levels in the series. The multiplayer strats don't do much? Sure, but the ones that are there are really fun. Meta Knight is always great, and while I don't have enough Wii Remotes to show you footage, clipping through floors with Day-to-Day and getting to skip whole entire mini-bosses is both hilarious and unbelievably satisfying. This run takes too long? Maybe compared to the older games, but you're still ending up with a similar time to what something like Robobot or Forgotten Land is gonna get. And while you don't know what I think of those speedruns, you know I love all of these as games. On paper, Return to Dreamland is, I guess, a nothing burger of a speedrun, but if there's one thing that I've learned through my many, many years of experience, you don't eat paper, you eat meat. And the meat of Return to Dreamland is one of the best games in the series. And if you're a vegan, then it's like the broccoli of the series. I don't know. I like broccoli. Let me know in the comments if you like broccoli too. Feed me some broccoli, I'm hungry. It's fun, it's simple, and despite everything I've said and complained about, this is one of the any percents that I actually come back to the most. Far from my favorite, but geez, Return to Dreamland is just so good. I barely even got to talk about how cool the Condor head cancels are against bosses and mini-bosses, for example. Just, oh, so much fun. Well, actually, I guess now's a better time than any to talk about that, right? And now it's time for Fluffle fans, it's Klaire Fluffle's speedrunning tip of the day. Yay! You may be wondering how the heck wing is supposed to hurt bosses and mini-bosses quickly. It's a wing. It's so weak, we call it the weak-willed wing. But what if I told you it was the strong something wing? Turns out, Condor Head, pressing down and attack while in the air, it does a lot of damage, and at any point during the attack, as long as you're in the air, you can jump out of it and do a wing flap. This cancels out the entirety of the animation and, by extension, the attack, allowing you to immediately do it again. Granted, you need to be careful since bosses can hit you, but wing becomes a lot stronger by using this, making it worth it to keep for every level in the game. Yay. I really wish that I could rank this game higher, similar to what I was saying about Superstar Stacker yesterday. Although in this one's case, I would be saying that just because I speedrun it so frequently. That's gotta count for something, but when I look at other Kirby games, even ones that I play less, which is like all but one of them, I see more that I like about those compared to this one. It's a gem of a game, and I can't recommend playing it enough, either the original or the remake on Switch. But maybe I'd suggest holding off on the speedrun. Not that I can hold off myself, I've got more videos to work on. Holy moly! Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, remember to share it to your friends, share it to your, not friends I guess, I don't know, just anything for a puppy! I've been Klaire, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you around. Bye-bye!